the neighbor, everyone defended. The fluorescent light from the police station entrance spills across her lap, turning the denim of her jeans a pale institutional blue. It is 2:14 a.m. on a Tuesday, March. Her fingers are wrapped around the door handle of her 2009 Subaru and they will not stop shaking. She's been sitting here for 11 minutes. The engine is off. The cold has started to creep through the steering wheel, through her coat, into the place behind her sternum where the knowledge has lived for 3 days. She knows what he did. She has known since Thursday, since she saw it with her own eyes. And for 3 days, the community around her has done something worse than the crime itself. It has mourned him, not as a criminal, as a saint. The candles are still burning on the steps of the Methodist church. The casseroles are still arriving at his front door. She watched the school principal post a photo of him on Facebook, calling him the best man this town has ever produced. She read every comment. She read them twice. Her thumb hovers over the door handle. The metal is cold and slightly greasy from her palm. The moment she steps inside and says his name, her life in this town is finished. She knows this. She has counted the cost. She has counted it in the unlocked doors that will lock when she walks up the path, in the church pews that will empty when she sits down. In the 23 years she has lived here, the first friendships, the only home her children have ever known. All of it, traded for one sentence spoken to one officer behind one desk. She squeezes the handle, the latch clicks. The dome light comes on, and for a moment she is visible to anyone who might pass. A woman in a dark coat, 41 years old, about to do something that cannot be undone. You are that woman, and the door of the station is 15 steps away, and every one of those steps will cost you something you cannot get back. She steps out. The cold hits her ankles first, then her throat. The gravel crunches under her boots. She walks toward the light. The town is called Millhaven, population 4,200, and it operates the way small towns do when they have decided what they are. The doors are unlocked, not because people forget, but because locking them would be an insult. Suppers move between houses in glass dishes with names written on the lids in permanent marker. Children ride bicycles across property lines without asking because the property line stopped meaning anything around 1987 when Dale Preston built a treehouse that straddled 2 yards and nobody complained. Dale Preston. That is the name she is about to say to the officer behind the desk. Dale Preston, who is 53 years old and has lived in Millhaven for 31 of them. Dale Preston, who coaches the Junior Baseball League on Saturdays and has a voice that carries across a field like a bell, is the man everyone calls. Car won't start in January? Call Dale. Basement flooding in April? Call Dale. Teenager won't come home by curfew and you are too frightened to go looking alone? Call Dale and he will be at your door in 4 minutes with a flashlight and a calm that makes you feel like everything is going to be fine. She has called him herself. 3 years ago, when her youngest got his arm caught between the porch railing posts and she could not pull him free, it was Dale who came. It was Dale who knelt in the wet grass in his work clothes and talked to the boy about baseball while he worked the arm loose, and when it was done, the boy was laughing. That is the man whose face she carries in her mind as she walks across the gravel parking lot. That is the man whose name she is about to break. The town has spent 3 days building a monument to him without knowing it. The Facebook post. The church candles. The casseroles. Every word of praise is a brick in a wall she is about to walk into. And she knows, with a certainty that sits in her stomach like a stone, that the wall will not break. She will. Thursday, 4:47 p.m. She was walking the dog along the creek path that runs behind Maple Street, behind the row of houses whose back fences face the water. The dog stopped at a gap in the fence, the one behind Dale Preston's property, where the chain link has been pulled away from the posts by years of kids cutting through. She saw the yard. She saw the shed. The shed door was open. It is never open. Dale keeps it padlocked. She has seen the padlock 100 times, hanging there like a brass punctuation mark at the end of a sentence nobody asks about. The door was opened, and the light inside was on, a single bare bulb swinging on a cord. She saw the girl. 16. She knows the girl. Everyone in Millhaven knows the girl. She was on the shed floor, and Dale Preston was standing over her, and his hand was over her mouth, and the girl's eyes were open, and they were looking at the door. Looking at the light. Looking for anyone. The dog pulled at the leash. She pulled back. She backed away from the fence. She did not scream. She did not run. She walked home with her hand over her own mouth, and when she got inside, she locked the door, and then she stood in her kitchen with her back against the refrigerator, and she could not breathe. The refrigerator hummed against her spine. The dog sat on the kitchen tile and looked at her. She stood there for a long time. She did not call the police. Not Thursday, not Friday, not Saturday. She told herself she was not sure of what she saw. She told herself the light was bad. She told herself it was something else, something she had misread, because Dale Preston does not do that. Dale Preston cannot do that. On Friday, she saw him at the hardware store. He was buying screws. He smiled at her. He asked how the kids were. She said they were good. Her voice did not crack. She does not know how. On Saturday, the principal's Facebook post went up, and the comments filled with stories about Dale, and one woman wrote that he was the reason this town is still worth living in, and she read that comment and closed her laptop and sat in the dark of her living room and understood something. If she spoke, they would not believe her. They would believe him. They would believe the man who built the treehouse, the man who freed her son's arm, the man who buys screws at the hardware store and asks about your children. She carried it for 3 days. The knowledge sat in her chest like something swallowed that would not go down. And now it is Tuesday, and she is walking across a gravel parking lot at 2 a.m., and the police station door is right there, and her hand is reaching for it. She said his name. Officer Pratt wrote it down. He wrote down what she saw, and the time, and the location, and he asked her to repeat it, and she repeated it, and then she went home and did not sleep. The investigation began the way investigations begin in small towns, not quietly, but loudly, in the specific way that small towns do quietly, which is to say everyone knew within 48 hours and no one admitted to knowing. The girl was interviewed. She denied it. She denied it with a flatness that should have told the investigators everything, but they were not looking for what it told. They were looking for what they could prove, and in a town where the doors are unlocked and the suppers move between houses and everyone has known everyone for 30 years, proof is a difficult thing. Dale Preston hired an attorney. The attorney was Ray Morales, who grew up 2 streets over and whose mother still brings tamales to the church potluck every 3rd Sunday. Ray Morales called the accusation baseless and called the woman troubled and used the word bitter in a way that made it sound like a diagnosis. The town heard him. The town agreed. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to change the temperature. She felt it first at the grocery store. The cashier, who always asked about her kids, looked through her. The eye contact was gone. The question was gone. She put her groceries on the belt, and the cashier scanned them in silence, and the total was 43 do's and 16s, and she paid and left, and the automatic doors closed behind her like a sentence. And then the church. She sat in her usual pew, 3rd row, left side, and the pew emptied, not all at once. One family at a time, over 3 Sundays, they moved to the other side. The space around her grew until she was sitting alone in a pew built for 8, and the gap was visible from every angle of the sanctuary. Then the school. Her son came home on a Wednesday and said that a boy in his class told him his mother was a liar. Her son is 9. He said the word liar the way children say words they have heard from adults, carefully, with the weight of someone else's conviction behind it. She knelt in the kitchen with her hands on his shoulders, and she did not cry, not in front of him. She waited until he was asleep, and then she stood in the bathroom with the door closed and the faucet running, and she cried into her hands until the water turned cold. The community organized a fundraiser, not for the girl, for Dale. They called it a legal defense fund, and they held it at the community center, and the local paper covered it, and the photograph showed 200 people in a room that holds 220, and every face was turned toward Dale Preston, and he was standing at the microphone, and he was crying, and the crowd was crying with him. She was not in the photograph. She was at home on her kitchen floor with her back against the refrigerator that hummed against her spine the way it had on Thursday when she first came home carrying the thing she had seen. The girl moved away. Her family left Millhaven in the middle of a school week, a Tuesday, a U-Haul hitched to their father's trunk, and no one said goodbye to them. No one brought casseroles, no one lit candles. They were gone, and the town did not flinch. She lasted 4 more months. 4 months of the empty pew. 4 months of the silent checkout. 4 months of her son coming home with new words he had learned from other people's parents. 4 months of the fundraiser money growing and the attorney making statements and the town settling into its decision, like a body settling into a warm bath. She found the house in August, a rental, 2 towns over, 47 miles from Millhaven. She packed the kitchen on a Saturday. She loaded the boxes into the same Subaru she had parked outside the police station that night. The dog rode in the back seat. The children rode in front. She did not leave a forwarding address with the neighbors because the neighbors had stopped being neighbors months ago. They had become something else, something with a polite face and a locked door and a silence that could kill. The investigation closed. The girl had denied everything. The family had left. There were no other witnesses. The file was marked inactive, and Ray Morales issued a statement calling it a vindication, and the town accepted the word and wore it like a coat. Dale Preston stayed. He still coaches baseball. He still sits in the 3rd pew with the Methodist Church, right side, near the window. The treehouse he built in 1987 still stands straddling 2 yards, and children still climb it. The padlock on his shed has been replaced. The new one is larger. The town of Millhaven did not lose a pillar of decency. It lost the woman who told the truth. It lost a family that needed protection. It lost the meaning of the word community and replaced it with something that looks identical from the outside. The unlocked doors, the shared suppers, the candles on the church steps, but functions as a machine designed to protect itself from its own reflection. The crime was not what destroyed this town. The crime was a single act committed by one man in a shed on a Thursday. The destruction was collective. It was 200 people in a community center. It was a pew that emptied one family at a time. It was a cashier who stopped making eye contact. It was a principal who posted a photograph. It was every person who chose the comfort of what they already believed over the horror of what they had been told. The woman drives 47 miles to work each morning now. She drives past the Millhaven exit sign and she does not take it. Her son is in a new school. He has not been called a liar. The dog sleeps on a new kitchen floor. The refrigerator hums, the same hum it always did. She does not regret the walk across the parking lot. She regrets that she waited 3 days. She regrets the Thursday she stood in her kitchen and did not pick up the phone. But she does not regret the door. She does not regret the name. The town still calls Dale Preston first when the basement floods. The town still calls him first when a teenager won't come home. And somewhere, 47 miles away, a woman hears the rain and wonders which of them will be the next to need him, and which of them will be the next to see what she saw, and whether that person will walk through the door. Ask yourself honestly, if your community loved the person who did wrong, would you still be the one who walks through that door?